Hi Pisces, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your April 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread, with each card representing a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign, Pisces, as the first house, all the way through to Aquarius, representing the 12th house. Once we get to roll that, we'll pull an oracle card as well for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used, for the main tarot deck, we have the Tarot of the New Vision, and for the Oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom of the Oracle. But we're actually going to start the reading off by rolling those astrology ice me in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we have 5. So 5th house energy for you guys is Cancer, and we've had Jupiter there for quite some time. It was retrograde for quite a few months, but on the 10th of March it started direct motion again, so you could be feeling some momentum building up there. And in general, 5th house points to romance, creativity, and children. Alright, we have Capricorn. So for you guys, Capricorn's your 11th house of groups, friendships, hopes, and wishes. Astrologically speaking, it's pretty quiet in that area of life, but you might just have some focus in that area of life regardless. And we have the South Node. So the South Node is actually in Virgo, which for you guys is your 7th house of partnerships, contracts, and relationships. So you might have been going through some karma and releasing around that area of life as well. But we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. In the first house of personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the 6 of Swords. So this is Aquarius energy here, which for you guys is actually your 12th house. So yeah, so for me this says that maybe you have been going through a bit of a healing cycle as far as maybe things that were stressing you out for a long time, right? Maybe things you kept replaying over and over in your minds. Now it looks like you might finally be able to leave those things behind as far as an old wound that might have been holding you back for a while. So looks like some positive momentum there as far as that goes. In the second house of possessions, self-worth, and finances, we have Judgment. So usually I view this as a Scorpio energy, but more than anything, this could just be saying that an opportunity from the past that maybe you had passed up on, or maybe you at least attempted it and it seemed to have failed. Now it looks like that opportunity could be coming back around for you guys this month. So could be a financially related thing, of course, like we said, given it's the second house, but I mean, if we look at the artwork too, right, could be around connections, families, you name it. All right, so for your third house of communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the Empress. So to see this here, this is Taurus energy for one, which actually is your natural third house, but beyond that too, could just be saying that when it comes to your communication, maybe you're a little bit more laid back this month, right? Just choosing to stay a little bit more within your home environment, keeping to yourselves, but at the same time, I feel like this is saying being in that energy might actually draw some positive communication your way too. For example, we see in the artwork there, their gate is wide open, right? So could just be one of those things. As you're in that relaxed energy, that might make you more approachable. All right, so in the 4th house energy, which points to home roots and family, we have the 8 of Swords. So this is actually a Gemini energy, which is your natural 4th house. So yeah, so this could just be saying that when you actually are home alone with your thoughts, I feel like this is saying you might find yourselves overthinking a little bit, right? So for some of you, that could actually be why being open around communication could be an important thing for you this month. So like we said, even if you don't actively seek it out, I feel like this is just saying, though, the more you're isolated within your home environment, you might start to overthink things, and then you might find yourself feeling a little bit stuck. All right, so for your 5th house energy, which as we mentioned earlier is romance, creativity, and children, we have the Queen of Swords. So this is Libra energy here, and of course when I think of Libra, in the context of April, there's going to be the full moon in Libra right on the 1st of April, so Could just be pointing to a timeline. Could just be saying that as soon as April kicks off, you're already thinking of this area of life a little bit more. But yeah, I feel like this is saying more than anything, you're going to want a connection of equals, right? So again, fifth house can be romance. So maybe it's in that regard where like, okay, I want to draw in a connection with someone who I view as an equal in some way. If this is around creativity as well, right? You might want to do something where you feel like it's a win-win. Whatever you put out there, you feel like you'll um, have reciprocation that equals the effort you've put in. Things along those lines there. But yeah, looks like something that you're clear about, and I feel like you're going to pursue it in that regard. All right. So for your sixth house of health, work, and daily routines, we have the Chariot. So this is Cancerian energy naturally here. But for you guys, your sixth house is actually Leo. So, I mean, if we combine those two things, though, I feel like, well, seeing this here along with the Judgment, right? Where, like, I was saying something from the past that you might have thought wasn't going to get off the ground. Now you might actually have another opportunity for it to do so. And then seeing this here, it could just be both of these things together could be pointing to something feel a little bit faded, right? So, it could be moving you in a positive direction, but you might feel like in a way at the same time it's a little bit out of your control, right? So maybe there could be a little bit of nervousness around that, but it does seem like it's ultimately for your benefit. But yeah, it could just be one of those things where you might feel like, okay, I was on one path for a certain amount of time, and now it feels like I'm being redirected. And again, like I said, it seems like it's for the best, but it just might catch you off guard. All right, so for your seventh house of contracts, partnerships, and relationships, we have the Knave of Wands. So, Page of Wands basically in most decks. But yeah, seeing this here, I feel like this is saying that there is a desire on your part to explore, right? So, again, like I said, maybe you went through a cycle where you weren't necessarily open to romance or whatever the case may be, or partnering up in general, right? But now seeing the Queen of Swords in the fifth house along with the Page of Wands in the seventh could just be saying that now you are open to these things, and possibly because you've done some healing, right? We were talking about the first house energy where maybe you've let these old wounds go, and as you're doing so now, it's opening up the desire for new opportunities. All right, so for your eighth house, which in general points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have Justice. So another Libra energy popping up here. And to see this, well, especially given that for you guys, Libra actually is your natural eighth house, could just be saying that more than anything, I feel like this full moon's going to be more significant for you than you might actually expect on the surface, you know? So it could just be one of those things, because like I said, here we go, right? Where we see these two things where it looks like energy that might be pulling you forward in some way that you're not necessarily expecting or aware of, right? And now seeing this, and then what we were talking about with the Queen of Swords in the fifth house, I feel like this is saying the full moon might catch you off guard a little bit, but not in a negative way, though. You know, and if that's the case too, I feel like this is saying that it could be something that's overdue. You know, where um, this was something that maybe was worked out behind the scenes in the past, right? But maybe for whatever reason the timing wasn't right, so you could have been feeling like you were hitting up against delay after delay, and now as we move through April, all of a sudden these things will be coming to fruition for you. And maybe not right away, too, to be fair, right? If we look at the artwork here, it looks like there's a baby there, right? So it could just be saying that there's things in a very early cycle, but they're already in motion, you know? So even if you don't see tangible evidence of it right on April 1st with the full moon, I feel like this is saying that the ball will already be rolling by then. And for some of you, you know, some earlier than others, you already start to see it in your physical reality. And now I do have to say that given that eighth house can also point to intimacy as well. For those of you, if you're looking to conceive, seeing the artwork here too, could just be saying that maybe you'll have some success around that, right? Now, of course, you wouldn't instantly find that out if that were the case, but yeah, so if that is something you are interested in, of course, then that would be positive news. But if you're not interested in conceiving, keep that in mind as well as we move through April. All right, so for your ninth house of philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Nine of Chalices, or Nine of Cups. So this is actually a Piscean energy here. So yeah, so to see this, I feel like this is saying that there's a part of you that continues to hold on to a light and playful energy, right? The belief that not everything has to be so heavy, right? Not everything has to be all about competition. So I feel like there's this light energy that you're bringing about this month, which is a natural fit for you. But I feel like this is saying this month you actually feel like you could relax a little bit more into that. So maybe this is just saying the environment around you is more supportive of letting you feel a little bit more comfortable in energy versus feeling like you always have to have your guard up. All right, so for your 10th house, which points to career and social status, we have the Three of Wands. So yeah, so this could just be saying that for some of you, you've been waiting for an opportunity to come your way, right? You might feel like you've put in the work around a certain thing, and now you're just waiting to reap the rewards of that work. If that's the case, like I said, that could be tying into what we were already talking about with the second house and sixth house, right? Where we see something that looks a little bit more karmic, a little bit more faded, where again, maybe this was something that you were hoping to get off the ground in the past, but now, for whatever reason, it looks like it's coming back in a better form in the present. So, looks like you could be experiencing that this month too. All right, so as we mentioned, we saw the Capricorn energy come up for your dice, which is 11th house for you. And for the card representing the 11th house, we have the moon. So 11th house in general points to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes. So could just be saying that maybe when it comes to the groups you deal with, your friendships, right? Maybe there's a little bit of confusion around that area of life. Now, keep in mind, you guys did have Mercury retrograde in your sign, right? It just pretty much wrapped up the retrograde part on the 20th of March. And it's still in its post shadow period, technically, until around, let's say, roughly the 10th or so of April. So it could just be as simple as that, right? Maybe if there's some confusion around that period of time. As we progress through April, you'll start to get a little bit more clarity around that. Maybe be able to clear the air there. And for some of you, maybe that's related to the Eight of Swords here and the Six of Swords, or maybe if there was some kind of misunderstanding, you'll be able to put that behind you this month. But also, in general, when I do see the moon come up in the spread, I tell people to pay attention to the timing of the main lunar cycles for that month. So, as we mentioned already, the Libra full moon right on the 1st of April. Then there's going to be a new moon in Aries on the 17th of April. And technically, this would be May, but right on the 1st of May, there's going to be a full moon in Scorpio. So, look for those 3 dates in particular, give or take a few days on either side, for some significant insights into this area of life. All right, and for the 12th house, we have the Magician. So yeah, so I feel like this is thing you might actually feel a bit of a creative spark this month. You know, when you're alone, you might get some sudden insights. Now, 12th house in general points to spirituality, blind spots, and mental health. So to me, this is more of like maybe not in your waking conscious mind kind of things, but maybe within your dreams, right? Or you might just be out and about and all of a sudden you get this intuitive insight. But I feel like whatever the case may be, I feel like it's saying that it's showing you that you actually have more control over your reality than you might think, right? So maybe for a while you went through a stretch where you're having your doubts around that, right? Maybe because things weren't working out for you. So astrologically speaking, for example, you guys had Saturn in your sign for a couple of years and Neptune even longer than that, right? So those two energies could have made it feel like, 1 second something's here, then it dissolves, right? You think you're getting something off the ground, and it's not. So it could be as simple as those transits lightening the mood as they moved out of your sign. Also, even Jupiter moving direct in your 5th house again. So there's astrological indicators that can point to why you might have felt a little bit stifled, and now those things could be clearing out. So now that might have you realizing that, okay, maybe you did go through a cycle where you did doubt your beliefs, right? Like, man, okay, I thought things would flow more naturally, but seems to not be the case. And now you could be readjusting and realizing that, okay, maybe it is actually possible. All right, and for the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Swords. So yeah, so going back to what we were saying there, you might have some kind of an epiphany energy hit you guys this month, and I think we more or less just covered what that could be around. So we'll leave it at that. But lastly, we'll see what we get from the Oracle card. So like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle. So I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Alright, I'll take this card here, get this out of the way, and then we'll see what you guys got. Alright, we have Y. There's the artwork. The number is 31. So we'll see what this has to say. Alright, essential meanings says motives, driving intention, the power of knowing, the why. The Oracle's message. There is great power in understanding your motives right now. The Oracle asks you to be very clear about why you're asking this question, looking for this answer, behaving in this way, and most important, making this choice. Knowing your why is the key to fulfillment. When you are clear about it, your intention will then be a magnet for miracles. Motives define the nature of your experience. When you think about something, feel it, and then act on it. This invisible why is the life force energy within the seed which brings it to life and holds the potential for growth. So yeah, I feel like this could just be pointing to, well, a few of the energies that we talked about, right? So like I said, for some of you might be feeling a little bit stuck in your thoughts at some time. That I was talking about how it looks like there's some healing around that, moving away from those kinds of things. So could just be saying that. And again, like I said, the fact that you guys did have Mercury retrograde in your sign could also have pointed to why you might have been reevaluating a lot of things recently. The relationship message says we don't always know why we engage in our relationships in the way we do, mostly because our feelings aren't always logical. Now is the time to recognize whether you are being triggered by someone else or if your behavior is motivated by unresolved issues in the past. When you ask yourself, why am I feeling like this, and why did I say that, and spend some time in introspection, the answers may be surprising. Listen to the messages from your intuition, from the knowing deep within you. What does it tell you about yourself and others? In the end, life is all about being loved. Miracles and a deep understanding of your needs and how to get them met are the buried treasure of the why. Uncover them by posing the most powerful question you can ask yourself and your partner today. Why? So yeah, another interesting message there because, like I was saying here, with that 5th house energy and the 7th house energy, it looks like now you might be opening up again to the possibility of pursuing some kind of a romantic connection. And maybe that was a big part of it, right? Looking at past situations, maybe where you might have run into stumbling blocks and realizing more importantly what you want out of a connection too, right? So, hope that resonated. And the prosperity message says knowing the motives behind your career and creative ventures is the ticket to your greatest success. It's time to ask yourself some probing questions. Are you driven by a desire to serve? Does your prosperity impact the greater good? When you envision your most prosperous life, are you guided by a sense of purpose or by a need to make money, acquire things, save for the future, or all of these? No motive is bad or good, but having agendas hidden from yourself will lead to disappointment and possible failure. Be clear about why you want the things you do. If the motives are true, accept them. If they are not, change them so you can step into your extraordinary life. So yeah, I like that message too, because if that's an area you're reevaluating, right, with that 10th house energy, and then we were saying it seems like there's going to be some faded energy when it comes to finances and your work and daily routines. Maybe that will be a result of you actually looking at those things, right, and asking those important questions and figuring out what really fits for you. But hope it ever resonated with you guys. We'll wrap up there. All right, bye.